is I'm pretty sure that there are people who are sitting here saying, oh man, Mr. Lindquist is being a jerk. And I'm like, if you think that, you don't really get it. Okay, excuse me. All right, now time to do homework. Okay, everybody looking this way. We're seriously not moving. We have work to do, we have things to learn, we have things to do. Papers out. Now, let's go over the two do-it questions to start. 5 less than twice a number is 9. Find the number. So the last, I guess, 4 or 5 days, what we've been working on is word problems. And the thing is that word problems traditionally drive kids crazy. They have a really hard time with them. And I'm going to give you a test in, well, when is that test? I think it's middle of this week. Your test will be Tuesday of next week. So a week from tomorrow, we have a test. And in the course of having this test a week from tomorrow, you are going to get a whole bunch of very straightforward equations, and then you're going to get some review questions. You're going to get some scientific notation. You're going to get some negative exponents. You're going to get laws of exponents questions and things like that. But then we're going to get to a part of the test where I give you like 3 or 4 word problems, maybe 5.
Oh, man.
And that's going to be the thing that makes or breaks you. Now, I've just been giving out, I've started to give retests to the kids who've been doing the relearn packets. And a couple of kids did the retests, and their grades were close to 90 before they did the retest. And after the retest, they went up like 4 points each. But a kid who's close to a 90 doesn't have a lot of room to go up. There are some kids who have gone up 28 points, 30 points, because they're doing so much better. I just graded one today that went up 24 points. Now, one of the things that the relearn packet tries to explain to you is that, I don't know if you realize it or not, but the relearn questions, the questions in the relearn packet, are exactly the same exact questions as I used for the pretest. Part B is one of the pretests, part C is another one of the pretests, etc. They are exactly the same questions. Now, if you do your work well before the test, and you prepare thoroughly, you don't need a relearn packet after the test. And the relearn packet is the same exact stuff I give you before the test. We just go through it again. So you have all of these possibilities, all of these things you can do that will make you better. But you gotta come into class saying to yourself, okay, how do I go about this? What do I have to learn? What do I have to be better at? And personally, if I had to guess the one thing that kids are always struggling with and always need to get better at, Lenny, you gotta be with me here, bud, it's the word problems. Word problems will drive kids insane. So kids can kick butt on all of the questions on the test that are like the last test and that are like straightforward equations. But when we get to the word problems, that's when we're going to find out who's been working and who has not been working. First question, find. Or 5 less than twice the number is 9, find the number. And the strategy that we've been teaching you guys to do is to underline the things that are very important. The biggest problem that I see with kids is that kids are constantly trying to solve the question right away. In wrestling, the referee's position, kids start where the bottom guy is in what you call a base. It's basically like on his knees and hands. And then the top guy's in his position. And if the top guy tries to pin the bottom guy right away, when the referee blows the whistle, usually, unless the bottom guy stinks, usually the bottom guy gets out. Because the top guy will put himself in bad position. Now, if the top guy, instead of trying to pin the guy when the referee blows the whistle, if the top guy just tries to break him down, if all the top guy does is try to get the guy's hips flat on the mat and control the wrist, then the top guy will usually work his way toward a pin. He'll at least control the guy for the whole period. and there's a pretty good chance that he will, in the end, come out victorious. It's like that with word problems. If you try to solve the word problem right away, it's going to be difficult for you, and there's a pretty good chance you're gonna put yourself in a bad position, and you're going to get it wrong. But if instead of trying to solve it right away, you try to break it down into its individual pieces, and then try to solve it, you'll probably get it right. So when I look at the individual pieces, what I see is this phrase, 5 less than twice a number. And then I see the phrase, is 9. Now, I always like to start with the easiest thing. What's the easiest thing there? Is 9, so I'm gonna write equals 9. Mr. Michaels, what is 5 less than twice a number?
2n minus 5.
That's right, 2n minus 5. Now that I broke it down into this piece and this piece, I can now try to solve the equation. This looks like what one of those part 1 questions will look like. Go ahead.
What do you put 5 minus 2n?
That would be wrong. Now, here's an explanation why. Let's say, go ahead, try to explain.
Because the 5 will be positive and the 2 will be negative.
That's a good way to look at it. I don't know that that makes a lot of sense, especially with boys. But let's try this one. Let's say that you have $5 less than me. In order for us to know how much money you have, what do you need to know first? That's right. So if you're 5 less than me, even though I came second, then me, I still have to go first because you got to know me before you can figure out you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Boys figure out money in a hurry. Okay. So whenever you see the word less than, you have to switch the order. I like to say the last shall be first and the first shall be last. There's a singer who I really like, a guy by the name of Bruce Springsteen. And he has a song called The Ghost of Tom Joad. And in The Ghost of Tom Joad, they actually quote a verse from the Bible. And he sings this part where he says, waiting for the day when the first shall be last and the last shall be first. And, well, what it means is that the people who think they're so good in this world will become the lowest ones in the next. And the people who are not the best in this world will be elevated in the next. That's what the verse is getting to. And in that particular song, it's a song about people who are suffering under the system of this world. And he uses the line, I'm waiting for the day when the last shall be first and the first shall be last. So whenever I see this phrase less than, I always remember the last shall be first and the first what?
Shall be last.
Shall be last. So whenever I see less than or more than, I'm waiting for the day when the last shall be first and the first shall be last. Now, I can't rap that. I don't know if anybody in here can rap that.
Joe.
Joe, can you rap that? I'll give you the beat. Ready? I'll take it up. Come on, Joe, give it to us now.
I can't rap.
You can't rap?
Lenny should not.
Was that a racial joke?
Yeah, that was racial.
Right?
He says he's gonna be famous.
No, Lenny says he's pink, right?
Lenny, you can rap?
He said he's gonna be famous.
You're gonna be a famous rap star?
Yeah.
You could be the Matt rapper.
Alright, actually,
It's better than being the candy rapper.
He's gonna be the one that
All right. So you'll have to live with my pathetic attempt at rap and singing and so on and so forth, and just go with the last shall be first and the first shall be last. When you got that, you're good. The next line is in a cardboard box neath the oval pads.
Well, what's the first lyric?
is it the
Hold on.
one where he be screaming?
Hold it. Man walking down the railroad tracks, going someplace where he ain't going
Isn't that
back.
progressive?
Highway patrol, chopper coming up over the ridge. Hot soup on a campfire under a bridge. Okay, ready? Add 5 to both sides. Die. 2n equals 14, divide by 2.
7.
N equals 7. Very good. Okay. Now, 2 things in that problem. 2 things very worth emphasizing. First one, if you see the word, Davis, see the word less than or more than, last shall be first, first shall be last. Second thing, break a word problem down into its pieces. You build the word problem up. You know, have you ever heard people complain about how sometimes the American students don't have the best test scores when they compare them to the rest of the countries in the world?
America what?
America's students don't have the best test scores compared to other countries in the world.
Because
Now,
it's just a
well,
physical lie.
there are two reasons for that, primary reasons. The first one is in most countries in the world, believe it or not, and you're right at the age, if you lived in England, if you lived in Europe, if you lived in some countries of the world, you don't even get to go to school, but if you live in these countries like in England and in Europe and so on and so forth, when you're 13 years old, they give you a big test. And if you don't do well on that test, you don't go to school anymore.
What?
You go learn a job. They figure you'll never be smart enough to succeed.
Wow, that's pretty messed up.
That's what they do. So then when the kids are 16 and 17 years old and they take the SAT, only their strongest kids take the SAT, so of course their kids do better. Because in our school, we say, you know what, we're not gonna condemn a kid like that, we're gonna let the kids try to learn more. So that's one thing. The second thing that's important to realize about other countries and how they look at American education. Japan is one of the leading countries in the world in education, and a lot of people think they do a great job. But, you know what the Japanese kids say about the American kids?
No, smarter.
The American kids are great at thinking outside the box. See, in Japan and in Finland and in countries like this, they drill into them a certain way to do things, and there's a good side to that. But they're not good problem solvers. They're very good on the skills. But their problem solving is not as good, and Americans tend to be better at problem solving. And this is a good example. Break it down, build it back up. That's how you solve problems. Yes?
Don't some countries have school all year round? Like they don't stop. I think China does that.
I don't know of a single country that does things all year long, but I do know of some countries that do 200 days and we do 180. So I'm not saying you're wrong, I just don't know of it. Hey, psst, head in the game. Okay, so let's take a look at the next question and start circling some important things. First off, let's read what it says. One number is 4 times or 3 more than 4 times another number. So this is one of those other problems. The minute I read that, I have to write down one number, other number. Does anybody know what the #1 breed of dog that bit people last year was? No. It was. Who knew that? Golden Retriever is the right answer. Now, does anybody know a Golden Retriever?
Yeah.
Aren't they usually like the nicest, sweetest dogs in the world?
Literally, my grandmother's dog
no,
only
yeah,
follows
they
me
bit
around.
my
That's all.
finger.
Okay,
That's all it
well,
does.
let me explain why Golden Retrievers bite more than any other dog.
Bite or nice?
Bite.
Oh.
The reason a Golden Retriever bites, we took our dogs yesterday to Hempstead Lake State Park. And as we were walking around with our dogs, every person in that place sees the size and power of our dogs and gives us a wide berth. Everybody takes a look at them and they're like, oh, I'm not getting too close to that one. And people who were very friendly people to dogs, our dogs met probably 8 or 10 people yesterday, maybe 12. And they all walk up to it like, is it okay if I pet your dog? Does your dog like people? Is he gonna bite me? Then they come up very slowly and they do this, they put their hand out. And they let the dog smell their hand. And then they wait for the dog to come close to them. That's not how people go up to Golden Retrievers. People go, "Puppy!" And some of those Golden Retrievers are like, hey!
Oh God, that scared
Who
me.
the heck are you?
Scared me.
So it's not that Golden Retrievers are necessarily vicious. There's just a right way to approach a dog. And when people see Golden Retrievers, they fall in love with how adorable they are, and they lose any sense of respect, and they go right after the dog. People don't do that with pit bulls. People don't do that with German Shepherds, Rottweilers, Dobermans, or Central Asian
I'll have a
Shepherds.
Rottweiler.
Now, and then people should come up with respect. They don't go up and stick their face 2 inches from your Rottweiler and go, no, you.
Oh yeah, my sister owns it. She goes on an elevator in an apartment. Nobody goes near it.
Right, well, that's it.
I have a
It's
Matthew.
instant respect. Now, boys, when you read this problem, you need to immediately shift gears. See, we read the first problem, and we read about less than, we read about is 9, and we went right for the setup, breaking it down. And when we break down this one, we break it down a little differently. We have to, when it says one number, another number, I immediately have to write one number, other number, one number, first number. I have to write something that shows that there are 2 different numbers in this problem. We always let the first number be n. Then it says one number is 3 more than 4 times a number. Now there's that more than. last shall be first, first shall be last, but more than is plus, the first shall be last, there's the 3, and then what do I write for 4 times a number? 4n plus 3, good. Then it says something interesting, the difference, what is difference?
Subtraction.
Subtract between these numbers is 36, so I know I'm going to get 36. The bigger one has to be the 4n plus 3. The smaller one has to be the n. Is this a same side or opposite side situation?
Same side.
4n minus n is 3n, plus 3 is 36, minus 3, die. 3n is 33, divide by 3, n is 11. Okay? Any questions about that?
No.
Notice it again. I break it down, I build it up. I break it down, I build it up. And my underlining and my circling are ways to break things down. Now, let's have you guys try number 2. Go ahead. In fact, try 2 and 3. Staying in your seat, if you want to talk to the person next to you, you can. But do not get up out of your seat. I would strongly suggest that you guys circle things, underline things, break it down, set it up. What do we always let that first consecutive integer be, everybody? Hey. First one's n or x. Next consecutive integer is what? Well, how do we get from one integer to the next integer? Plus 1. So if it was n, then it becomes n plus 1. How do I get to the next integer? N plus what? 2. How do I get to the next integer if I have to? N plus 3. So as many as I need, I just keep doing n, n plus 1, n plus 2, etc., etc., etc. To quote Daffy Duck. If you don't know who Daffy Duck is, you missed a very important part of childhood.
Daffy Duck a mouse?
Keep working, it's one little humor.
He's a mouse?
No, we only got a couple minutes left.
It's a
Hey,
sheep? It's a
where's
meat?
your paper?
Yeah.
Give him his paper. Let's put your papers on.
It's a guy.
It's
a guy, you idiot.
Not Daffy, it's Daffy.
Can we not even worry about that and worry more about the problem? Right? It's one little piece of something to not be bored, and then we move forward.
This is not you. No, that's girlfriend, right?
Alex, head in the game, buddy. First consecutive integer, second consecutive integer, third. Okay, so I set up my consecutive integers. The first one is always n, because when I don't know what something is in algebra, I call it a variable. Then to go from the first one to the second one, I have to add 1, and then I add 2 to go to the third. Key word here, sum and is 24. What do I start with?
Equals 24.
Equals 24, and then I have to add them up because the sum means to add. So n plus 1 plus n plus 2. This is the third one, see it right here. Here's the second one, see it right here. Here's the first one. The sum, adding them, 1, add. Same side, same operation, 1n, 2n, 3n. 1 and 2 make 3 is 24, minus 3, die. 3n equals 21, divide by 3, n is 7. You know, I used to tell my wrestling team all the time,
What?
you guys want to beat Longwood, you want to beat Sachem, You wanna beat Connecticut, these are tough teams, you wanna beat these teams.
Exactly.
And the problem is that a lot of times kids think you win the wrestling match by getting psyched up the day of the match or the day before the match. And I would tell them 2 weeks before, you wanna beat Sachem, you earn it today. You wanna beat Connecticut, you earn it today. You wanna go toe-to-toe with Longwood, come out on top, you earn it today. That's why you come to practice. You don't waste any of this practice time. So you guys come in here today, and I'm telling you now, a week from tomorrow is a test. And I'm telling you now, the hardest part of that test is going to be word problems. So if you work hard over the next week, you can be victorious on that test. If you don't, if you think you can study the night before and suddenly get it right, you're gonna get your butt whooped. Hasta la vista, vaya con Dios, toodaloo, ta-ta. Arrivederci, smile a lot, ciao. See ya, arrivederci, adios amigos y amigas. Cheerio, carushus, katafis, sayonara. Shalom.